Good afternoon and welcome to the September edition of the Manager's Town Hall Meeting Virtual Edition. For September, our agenda is a little bit shorter, but there's some very important updates. First off, I'll tell you about some big news I think you'll appreciate. There's an important ELS policy update that I need to cover. There's some project updates, some activity updates, and then I'll take you through a list of upcoming meetings. Okay, so for the big news. Once again, I get the pleasure of announcing to you no rent increase for 2018. Yes, in fact, you heard that true. That's 2 years in a row with no rent increase. You spoke, we listened, and I went to war for you, and we got it. Now, I can tell you that this one was really tough. The U.S. economy's doing pretty darn well. The Canadian exchange rate is better, but we fought and we won. I have absolutely no promises for 2019, but remember, if there's a rent increase next year, that you've had 2 years where there was nothing. You should be getting your official letter in the mail any day now. You'll also notice in that envelope is a form that we need signed and returned. There was a little contention about some of the language in the lease. This doesn't change anything that you were told the lease was supposed to already do, which was auto renew. And the legal team just felt that it needed a little touching up. So all this means is that we will, going forward, be able to automatically renew your lease without having to force you to sign documents and read lease things and look for changes and all of those things every single year. It makes absolute sense for you. It's easier for us. It costs less, but we do need that form signed and returned to us. So look for that in your U.S. mail anytime here in the next few days, or if you're here at the resort, in your mailbox here. Here's an update on a very important ELS policy. No ELS employee may perform work for a customer for pay. This is something that's always been a rule. It's always been on the books, but at Victoria Palms, we're a little unique. We're a little different, and so we tried our best to just ignore it. We kind of turned our head the other way, and we allowed some things to happen, but we can't ignore it any longer. We got caught. We're busted. For company policy, if this seems to not make sense to you, let's talk in terms of you have me come to your house to connect up your computer. I don't know how I do this, but somehow I do something wrong and it causes a fire and your house burns down. I don't have the money to pay for your house. Maybe your insurance will pay for it, but your insurance is going to then come after me. And when they realize that I have no assets capable of paying for your house, then they're going to go after the company, because I work for the company and my whole reason for being on the property was because of the company. It's unfortunate, it's almost unfair, but it is reality. If you've ever had a lawsuit having to do with any type of employee of a company, you know that legally they turn to the company because that's the deepest pocket. Very often the person doesn't have the wherewithal to cover, and they don't have insurance for this type of work. So that's the rationale behind it at the corporate level. It's also important to understand that we have over 400 properties across the U.S., and this is in place as a rule with no variables at every one of these properties. It's just us that we're trying to just hope that we could continue on and not get caught. My plea to you is that you not jeopardize anyone's job by asking them to violate this rule. Now, let's not go over the top here. You need somebody to show you how to drain your water heater. We're going to do that for you, but we're going to do that as the company. We will help you. You need a new air conditioner installed. We're not going to do that. We're going to direct you to a certified licensed insured vendor who will do it and do it right. This is an offense that can result in the termination of an employee. It's real important that they not be asked to do something that they're hesitant to turn down. So please, please don't ask them. We have very good contractors in the area. Some of them that are fully licensed and insured that we use ourselves, and there are others that maybe don't have workman's comp or something like that, but they can do the job a little bit cheaper. I only would caution you that it's critical that you understand if you hire somebody that doesn't have full insurance, let's say they don't have workman's comp and they fall down your stairs and get hurt, you could personally be liable for their medical bills. So it's wise to hire licensed people who have insurance and are protected. Note, this does not affect your ability to help other residents. So I did have somebody come in and ask me, does this mean that I can't do some work on my neighbor's house? No, it doesn't mean that at all. I can't tell you what you can and can't do in that realm, but I can tell you what the company insists upon as far as employees. Project updates. Let's jump right into this. Bathrooms done, all 4 of them. They look gorgeous. Incredibly positive feedback. I can't wait for you to get back here to see them. Pool sidewalks done. You'll see a picture here in a couple of slides that'll show this new like rubberized non-skid coating that we put on them. I think it's incredible. Assuming that it holds up like it's supposed to, I think this will be the long-term solution. New fans in the large card room, done. We had a request that the fans in there were horrible. They were noisy, they wobbled, they whatever. We put some real nice remote control fans in there, so you can now control it. New pool table lights. I don't have a picture of that. It's in progress right now, but we worked with the pool table group and Fun and Sun Resort, who typically got the best reviews for their pool area. And we put in the exact same lights that Fun and Sun had, except we've upgraded a little bit. We went with LED light bulbs, and I think you're going to find our tables will be much more evenly lit, much easier to see. I just think it's an incredible upgrade, and you know, I thank Shane Whipple for working with us to help us identify the right lights, the right bulbs, the right height for hanging them, and you know, he was integral in this process. Phase 2 water projects in progress. We're replacing hydrants now, and we've got a phase 3 where we'll go in and do more valves and hydrants every year. So I think that's going to be, you know, a really substantial project that will help us all. Street drainage project. I'm finally going to get rid of those yellow grates that we take out that are in the middle of the street, and we put that little cage thing up around them when it rains and you have to drive around those. Well, we're expanding that drain to make it large enough that we won't ever have to take that off again, and you'll never have to drive around it. So I'm excited to get that project done. Front wall extension, as I've always said, this is a kind of a back pocket progress or project where we use it as a filler when we're waiting on materials or we don't have something is in our way that we can't work on other projects. We work on that. We've made considerable progress, by the way, but it's not done, and it'll probably be done before this season is over. Fitness center expansion is in progress. As I talked about in other meetings, we actually took over the office that was down at the end. We've now taken the wall out. I'll show you a picture here in a minute. And that's given us about another, I think, 250 square feet in that space. It works perfectly to move the weight equipment up into that area and give us more room for additional treadmills and ellipticals and things like that. Now, I do need to mention that I do not have formal approval for that project. It's about a $78,000 project to put in new rubberized gym flooring and replace all of the non-air powered equipment. I expect that it will be. That's why we're doing the construction, but if not this year, next year for sure. But I really do expect that to come through this year. I should know in late November if we actually get approval for it. And by the way, the only reason that I have concern is because of the hurricane that went through Florida did significant damage, and as a corporation, a fiscally responsible corporation, they look for other places to take money where it's not a negative, so that they don't have to do loans or overextend to get their properties back online. It's, you know, pretty common in this type of business. So if our money gets tapped to go to Florida, then you know, this may have to stretch till next year, but I still expect it to come through this year. Ballroom floor refinish is done. It's incredible. It's gorgeous. It's a little bit lighter, but it's much more wet looking, and it's a much more solid surface on it. So here's a picture of the large card room. You can see the 3 new fans up in the ceiling. Like I said, they're really nice fans. They weren't, you know, the ones we took out were those old cheap gold and white things, and these are real nice fans. Each one has a remote control. You can, if you're too warm, you can turn them up, and if you're too cold, you can shut them off, and you can do all of that on a fan by fan basis right there in the room. So we've had good feedback on the replacement. This is that coating. I apologize, the picture's not very good, but if you look really close, you can see that it's kind of bumpily, I guess. I don't know. It's actually a rubberized coating that's an epoxy base that adheres to the concrete, and it's a real pain to put on, and it's maybe a little blotchy looking, but the reality is it's a very, very stable coating. It's supposed to be very long lasting, and it's completely non-skid. You're not going to go landing on your keister coming out of the pool with wet feet, so I'm real happy with that as well. This is the new ballroom floor. You'll notice it's a little bit lighter. You can see more of the wood grain, but it looks wet. It's just incredible. What we learned from this new contractor was that the old contractor had taken stain and mixed it with the top coat. So instead of a clear top coat, we had a colored top coat, and of course a color shows scratching more than the clear coat does. So with this one, all of the color is down at the wood level, and then all of the clear coats are on top of it. We think it's going to survive significantly better and will be easier to maintain as well, and I can't wait for you to see it. It's just incredible. And this is where we're expanding the fitness center. So over at the right hand side of the picture, you can kind of see some of the weight apparatus there to give you an idea where that is, and we've taken over that office that was next door. If you were to go there right now today, you'd see that all of that wall is gone. We've completely finished it. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to go over there and get a new picture today, so but that will wrap right around into that space. The doors that used to be on the left side of that space are all gone. There's a solid wall there, so there's only 2 entrances to the gym, one from the outside by the restaurant and one from the inside in the lobby. So I want to just touch on some projects that you don't necessarily see. Lift station updates. We're in the process of doing new controls, new pumps. Money is just being poured into these. You know, it's a really unique situation here at Victoria Palms because most cities own the lift stations and the property just connects to them. Well, when this property was built, I guess there wasn't anything like that around, and so as part of the original construction, they put in their own lift stations, which means we're responsible for them. These are, you know, massively heavy-duty sewage pumps is what they really are, and it's a pretty extensive maintenance program, from chemicals that we have to add to, you know, constant cleaning and updating, and anyway, something that you don't see that takes a lot of time and money to keep going. Sprinkler valves. We all know that there's sprinklers going up and down the boulevard and other places, but what you probably don't realize is that this is not like your sprinkler system at home with nice little hand twist valves and things like that. We have 2-inch lines running underground with big $1,000 plus electric valves that turn these things on and off, and they go bad. It's just part of having something that constantly moves like that. And what happens when they go bad? Either they don't turn off all the way and water continually trickles out of the sprinklers, or they don't open all the way, and then we don't get the coverage that we planned. So we've been in the process of replacing those valves, and it's a pretty intense process where we have to dig down to the main lines and cut the pipes and put in these new valves, and they're not cheap either. They're well over $1,000 a piece. So AC coil replacements, something I brought this up mostly because it might be something that you would be interested in your personal air conditioning units. If you have a unit that's in the 5-year-old kind of time frame, there was a batch of bad coils that were put in units. Our cottages all got units that had these bad coils, and one by one they started leaking. Well, we weren't alone. There were other people that had these too, and the company, the manufacturer, actually issued a recall and sent replacements. So we've been doing that, but it might be something for you to look at. If you have an air conditioning unit that is constantly needing Freon, it could be that you're part of this as well. I don't have details to tell you what manufacturers or things like that, but you could certainly take the serial number off of your unit and call the manufacturer and see if there's a recall on it. Pool filtration updates. Once we got the pool done, we realized that it wasn't filtering the way we had expected it to. Now, we had mentioned this to the pool contractors before they started, but they couldn't really test because all of the jets, fittings, pipes, drains, all of those things had to be replaced as part of the resurfacing of the pool. So it made no sense to test before they did that because they have an impact on the overall filtration rates. So they did all of that, they put it all together, and of course the only way they can test it afterwards is to fill it up. We did that, and we found a little dissatisfaction. Since that time, both our maintenance team and the pool company have been working to redo fittings, reconnect valves and pumps. We've added some valves. We've got it working pretty good now, but it was literally about 2 weeks of work just on the plumbing that supports the pool. Again, something you'll never see. Painting the small kitchen. Our small kitchen that we use for concessions and some other small meals and things wasn't in bad shape, but it just was kind of tacky looking. And so over the summer, the activities team went in and painted everything, and they used a real light gray. So it's not white. It was white before, and white just shows everything. But they used a real light gray. I think it looks incredible. And to make it a little bit easier to clean and keep up with, we also put down a commercial rubberized flooring that is like perforated so that you can clean through it. It's non-skid, it's cushioning on your feet. If you've ever done concession duty, you know how tough that can be, and I think that'll make it a little bit easier. And of course they scrubbed everything like you can't believe. I mean, in cracks and underneath things, and they did a real job. Most people will never see that, but a lot of effort went into it. Similarly, the carpeting behind the stage. Most people don't go there unless you're leading one of the activities like darts or beanbag where you have to go back there. You may never see this, but it was a pit. It was a concrete room with unpainted walls and a lot of junk back there. Nothing was organized, and this is where our entertainers go to stage themselves and change and do costume changes and things like that, and it was horrible. You come to a resort with a beautiful ballroom like that, and it was like we were throwing them in the basement to change their clothes. So we've fixed that. It's now carpeted. There's a makeup mirror on the wall. There's lighting. There's tables. We've put up curtains to hide the equipment that we have back there. It's just significantly better, and we've had really incredible feedback from our entertainers. New tables for cards. So the card groups came to me and said, the thing that we're having problems with is some of our games are too big for the large card room. And I said, okay, so how do I fix that? Well, they came up with the idea. They said, now that we've moved darts out of the old bingo hall and bingo is out of there, what about using that as an occasional card room? If you bought more tables that we could keep down there, we could do that. So that's what we did. We bought 20 new card tables, which means we can seat 80 people in that space playing cards, and we think that will help all the way around. It'll also free up the large card room, so some of the events that were held in the small card room outgrew that and can now move to the large card room. So we now have 3 sizes of card rooms, and I think it'll be much better for everybody. New work order system. Kind of an interesting thing here. You probably know from conversations with me that I'm kind of a geek. You know, I came out of IBM and other high-tech businesses for my primary career, and I just love anything technologically that can make things work better, faster, more accurately. One of the things that we've had here was a trouble ticket system, is what we call it in the business, but within the resort we typically call it work orders. And what it did is it allowed us to go onto our computer and create a work order to trim the trees on lot 16, and that automatically got sent to our maintenance team. They could pull that, they could print it if they wanted to. They take it with them. They pick up all of the work orders every day, and they go out and work those, and then they go back to their computer and they close them out and tell us what they did. So we had a real full circle. When I first came here, we did it on a piece of paper, and we never knew where these things went, and the guys would maybe pick up a pile of work orders and maybe one blew away while they were working on it. There was no control over it. There was no way to really track back to see that everything had gotten done. So long story short, we implemented that system last year, I believe, and the other resorts in the valley have just gotten green with envy. And so we're now looking for a larger system that we could implement that will cover all 10 of our properties. I doubt there will be much crossover. In other words, I'm not going to open a ticket for Alamo Palms, but the key is that all of our Encore properties will have that same reliability and trackability for issues that affect our residents. So I think it's really cool. You know, we've been kind of a front runner in the high-tech age of it. We were the first ones to do our Channel 3 thing. We were the first ones to do the 911. We're the only Valley property that has their own activities website. So there's a lot of things that we've tried to do to just make things better. There's some projects in planning, and boy, the red down at the bottom is critical. Note, these are not funded at this time, but I want you to understand that we're always looking. I've always got a queue of projects ready to throw into the hopper, and sometimes they come out of nowhere. Sometimes one of our sister properties might have a project that becomes unfeasible for some reason, and that money's available. You know, the first one that gets to the bank with their project is the one that gets that. And there are multiple projects in here that I've been able to do because I was on top of that. So these are projects that are not necessarily funded, but that I want to do here. First off is updated tree lighting. You know, we use the LED rope lights on the trees, and it's pretty. Everybody likes it. The blue is gorgeous, but I think we can do better. What we've found is about every 18 months those things wear out. They're about $2,500 to redo them, plus a lot of labor. We've got some volunteers that have been doing that for us, but it's an incredible amount of upkeep and labor. And they actually, the hose like that goes over the outside of these rope lights turns yellow and gets crusty, and they don't hold up well outside. So what I would like to do is take those away and do what's called up-down lighting. It's a cylinder light that mounts directly on the tree, and it has lights that shine up into the canopy of the trees and down to light the trunk. We have the power out there. It's just a matter of finding the right tools. I would like to continue to go with the blue. I think we could have one of the most spectacular boulevards maybe in the country by doing this. So, I'm eager to get this done. I'm in the research mode with that. New lights at the lobby exterior. So if you look at the front of the lobby where the portiere is, and you'll see along the front wall there are these antiquated and I think ugly, I think they're called carriage lights. Uh, there probably are some very high quality versions of these, but the ones that we have are basically cheap porch lights like you would put on the front porch of your house. And they're not pretty, they don't match. There's probably at least 4 different kinds out of 12 lights. Some of them are black, some of them are bronze, some of them are gold. It's just horrible, and it's one of those things that we all see, we all walk by, but it took a brand new resident coming in to say, those lights look really tacky, and it woke me up to it. And so I would also like to do the up-down lights there. Now you've seen up-down lights on buildings, and that's where you see a triangular beam of light that shoots downward, lights the wall in kind of little triangles, and a smaller one that goes up toward the roof line. Much more modern, better lighting, more aesthetic, and I think we'll update the whole look of that area. And by the way, I'm working on a potential plan to actually make that happen sooner rather than later, so stay tuned for that. Repainting of the terracotta. You go through our resort and we have this color, terracotta, red, basically, that's on a lot of our roofs and trim work and things like that. Well, we've already started pulling away from that. This is a personal thing, and if you totally object with this, I'd love to hear from you. But if you've seen our guard shack, we've used a combination of a real nice kind of neutral beige as our base color and a deeper, richer burgundy color as our trim, and I think it just is 1,000% more rich looking and doesn't make us look cheap and bad. So one of the things that I'm trying to get funding for is to repaint all of it with that burgundy and get everything to the this better color. I think it would make an incredible improvement. And I can tell you that anytime we do a repair, we're repainting with that color rather than going with the old color. And so little by little we're getting there, but I'd like to do a blitz and get it all done. Update of the ballroom decor. There's a couple of things in the ballroom that are hideous. You may not even notice them, but if you were coming in to hold a wedding or something special, you might notice them. So the first thing is the walls are covered with a mauve colored carpet. Now the carpet may seem weird, but it's actually done to absorb sound so that we don't have an echo chamber. That's a very big room. Similarly, the ceiling tiles are acoustical panels, and they're there for the exact same reason. They don't reflect the sound, and it gives us some really great acoustics in that room given the size of it. Well, so what we would like to do is take the mauve carpet off, paint all the trim, and put something more neutral or more attractive up there. Update it to more modern things. And it doesn't even have to be carpet. There are acoustically absorbing tiles or other things that could be put up there, but it's about looks, it's aesthetics, because the carpet works just like it should, but we want something that aesthetically is more pleasing. Similarly, the ceiling is horrible. Between all the roof leaks that we had before we got the new roof put on, there's tiles that are mismatched, that are stained, they're dirty, they're horrible. And part of my project is to take all of those tiles down, repaint all of the rails and stiles, and then put all new ceiling tiles in it. I think if we could get those two things done along with the new ballroom floor, that place would be second to none. Shuffleboard shades, I put together a plan using rough cut cedar and commercial sunscreen fabric to make some really cool sunshades. It's not a hugely expensive project, but it is one that we're not funded for at the moment. So I'm hoping that we can find a way to get that pushed in as well. These sunshades would cover about a third on each end of each court, so there'd only be about a third of it in the middle that wasn't undercover. So the whole area where you shuffle would be covered, and I think it would make it a lot more pleasant. Additional pool furniture. We all know that when we have big events, we're scrambling for chairs and loungers and all of that. I don't want to buy, like double the amount of furniture that we've got. And so the approach that I've been working is to use the resin furniture. It's that plastic stuff. And no, it's not as durable as what we have right now, but it wouldn't be used on a daily basis. My goal is that I can buy virtually 100% of what I've got right now. So we could double the amount of capacity, but on a normal day they would stay stacked off in the corner. I've actually put in my plan loungers, chairs, and tables, so depending on what you want there would be more of that. But again, it wouldn't be for everyday use, but it would provide a lounger for somebody that wants one, even when we're having a pool party or a sip and dip or something like that.